In this episode, I'm talking about a classic track from David Morales. It's Needin' You, and I'm sure you know this one. Please tell me you know this one. This tune came out in 1998 officially, but it was doing the rounds for a bit before that because David used to play this, he used to mix it live, and people loved it whichever way he put it out there. So eventually he was like, you know what, fine, I'll put it out. And it was a huge hit. Went to #1 in many countries, and to this day is still considered an all-time house banger. Go on, David, bye. So, what does this tune consist of? 2 samples that we're going to get into a little bit later on. And that's another thing, right? David wasn't even that keen on this song. He described it as, and I quote, "some sample shit I slapped together." Can you believe that? Right? You just didn't think much of it, as many people do, especially when it's something you've made. You get in your head, nah, it's not that good, but this just goes to show, put your music out there, get out there and do your thing, because you never know what's going to happen, right? Because David certainly didn't know his trajectory, and that's what we're going to get into a bit today. Before we talk about the samples, let's take our time machine back in time to the 1970s in New York City, Brooklyn in particular, when this type of sound was all around the place.
Girl, you need a change of mind. Baby.
And a young David Morales was growing up surrounded by music, right? He loved music, and he was one of those people that just wanted to keep learning, keep growing his collection, keep hearing new music and understand what was happening, what the pulse was. And let me tell you, in New York in the 70s, music was all over the place, right? And it was bubbling up in many different ways. And David loved getting stuck in, right? So he was a dancer, a record collector, he would play records, he was that kid in the corner sitting with the turntable, just playing more and more, and he collected a lot, so he hung out at record stores and everything, and he aspired to be these big DJs he was hearing about around the city, right? So what he started doing was putting on parties, doing a kind of DIY, make his flyers, collect people, and play his collection. Tunes like that to get people going. And there was a pivotal moment for him and many other New Yorkers at the time, and that happened in 1977 when all of a sudden there was a blackout, right? The whole city went into darkness, no power. So now I ask you, why would that influence his trajectory and many others? Well, because of looting, right? Many big stores that were stocking musical equipment were looted, and the equipment flooded the streets, right? So, in addition to PAs and amps and subs and instruments, mixers became freely available, and David got his hand on a little mixer which allowed him now to really keep the records going, right? That was a big shift at the time, was having 2 decks and the mixer, because before that you had jukeboxes, or you had someone playing records like Little Davy was. There was always a gap, right? The mixers allowed you to combine and keep things going in a DJ set, right? At the same time, music was getting a little funkier, a little crazier, a little bit more of a groove. accommodate this mixing and dancing and everything, the music evolved, right? And all of a sudden DJs, aka disc jockeys, were becoming the center of the clubs, right? So the whole nightlife was changing, the way people gathered, the way they danced, the way they listened to music, all as a result of the mixer and clubs and disco and everything, right? It was a crazy time in New York, and David was right there playing his records in his parties, right? And he was getting a little bit of a name for himself, right? And a place like Ozone and all these parties where he would basically get a whole house when someone was out of town, out in Brooklyn, and make flyers, lug his hundreds of records there and play, and people loved it, right? He was a great selector of tunes. At the same time, he met somebody called Judy Weinstein, and she introduced him to a record pool, right? What is a record pool? You're probably saying. You're saying, what is a record pool? Well, I'll tell you. It's a pool of people sharing records, specifically labels giving records to DJs to get feedback, right? At the time, you needed to know how the crowd, the dance floors were responding before you committed to a big release. So you would send records to this pool where a bunch of DJs would get a copy and they'd go and play it.
I got my mind made up. Come on, you can get it, girl. Anytime. Tonight is fine.
And they would judge it and come back and give the feedback and say, crowd loved it, crowd particularly loved this part, this type of bass is good, whatever it was a way for labels to get feedback to create dance floor fillers, right? Like this. This is the type of tune that was being played in a lot of the clubs. And if you go from Brooklyn over the bridge into Manhattan, there was a certain club called Paradise Garage, right? Or should I say Paradise Garage? I probably should say that because it was in New York City. And Paradise Garage was the best place in town, right? It was the type of place that paved the way for nightclubs, was the inspiration for nightclubs at the time. Like I said, a lot of this was new. The idea of going out and just dancing on the dance floor all night to this type of music was relatively new, with the idea of a DJ doing that versus the jukebox or whatever it was, or the live band, right? Which also had little gaps. Anyway, the beauty of these clubs was that you have mixed crowd, mixed genres, everybody's welcome, right? Everybody is the same on the dance floor is what they would say. So the garage, which was originally a big automobile garage, turned into this great club, right? And we have to talk about the head honcho, Mr. Larry Levan, right? I talked about him before in other videos, but he was legendary at the time for the way he curated music, for his vibe, and people worshipped him, right? Just like this gospel music and the song he would play. What a tune, right? So the garage, Larry was up there as a legend. Huge queues to get in, loads of fun. It would go all night. It was called Sunday Mass because it would go until Sunday morning. And like I said before, everyone's welcome, whether you're gay, straight, black, white, whatever. Just get in here and enjoy the music. And that was pretty unique at the time as well, right? Because there was still a lot of segregation and a lot of anger towards certain communities. So this tune is a brilliant tune. And this tune for me reminds me of the Temple of Boom, which is actually a music collective I was a part of in my 20s a few years ago, and it still exists to some extent. Watch out, particularly my buddy Conman would play this tune, and it's a banger on any dance floor, right? So shout out to Conman and shout out to Richie, Marky and Nida. A lot of these veterans at the time introduced me to more of these classic 70s tunes that were just dance floor fillers, right? Because I was more house and hip hop and that kind of stuff. But anyway, shout out to Temple of Boom. Coming back to Larry, he was the man, right? And he mixed with 3 turntables. He played at the garage for 10 years and he was a legend, right? And as the music evolved, this type of synthy kind of stuff came in as well. That Larry was playing. Meanwhile, remember, let's come back to the record pool. David had given some mixtapes, or Judy Weinstein had gotten a hold of stuff, and she got in touch with the owner of the owner of Paradise Garage, and Mr. Michael Brody, right? And one day, as the story goes, David's chilling at home, probably after playing a big house party the night before, and he gets a phone call. Bring, phone call. Hello? Is this Dave Morales? Sure is. This is Michael Brody, the owner of Paradise Garage, the best club in New York City. We want you to come and play at the garage. And David was like, who the hell is this? I don't believe you over there, over here. And Michael was like, I swear to God, it's Michael Brody over here, over there. We want you to play. Can you come in on Friday? Our current DJs, they ain't giving the vibe. I heard you're very good. And David was like, okay. And that's the story, right? Remember now, he had no experience in big clubs, and he was being put into Paradise Garage, the biggest club to play before Larry Levon for his debut. Just played that there to let it sink in a bit. So, he realized it wasn't a prank, this is the real deal. He got his record collection, prepared his set, went to the garage and played a fantastic set, right? He had Jossie B with him, Jocelyn Brown, right? Because some of them are bringing guest singers and stuff. That's what set it off, right? He had that moment in Paradise Garage, looking at the dance floor, and he was doing it. The crowd loved it, and David instantly became a resident and went from there to a superstar DJ. He remixed loads of songs, he DJ'd all the time, all over the world, and he is renowned as an incredible DJ. And he's the guy that made Needin' You from 2 of the songs he used to play in his sets. So enough about this history. Why don't we get into the mystery, aka the samples, shall we? The first sample I'm looking at comes from Rare Pleasure, and they were New Yorkers in the 1970s, very close to David. And this tune, Let Me Down Easy, was their only release, right? Came out in 1976. And it's the perfect mix of soul and disco at the time. Beautiful track, right? So, sorry, I must correct myself. They did have a Rare follow-up, right? It wasn't their only track, but the follow-up came like 50 years later. Mr. Ashley Beadle, right, UK geezer, re-released a song that they had made as the follow-up to this, but it was only pressed to a like an acetate, or it only made it to a very small demo. It never was released, right? So they technically had this one song, and then all the way up until the 2020s was the next one was released. So shout out to Rare Pleasure, and especially shout out to Sandy Barber, right? And I'm not talking about the guy who cuts my hair at the beach, not that Sandy Barber. The Sandy Barber was the singer in Rare Pleasure, and she was very young, maybe 15 or 16, and she won a talent show at the Apollo in Harlem, and she got in to record this, and it's a legendary track, particularly in the clubs at the time, right? Larry Levant, all those lads loved this record and would play it to get the crowd going. Brilliant, the horns, that piano riff, come on. That's what we're going to sample in, right? Let's get that piano riff in. But before we do that, somebody wants to say a little something.
Hello.
That's right, it's Dr. Sample, the co-host, the man, the boss man, the doctor. Okay, doctor, how are you doing? It's been great to see you today.
I guess I've always known we'd meet again.
I knew we'd meet again as well, right? It's been a crazy time. It's been hot. The heat is flying around London. The fan is on over here. I'm drinking water, but we're still making videos the odd time. And I must say, doctor, you're looking pretty good yourself.
You look like you've been doing well.
Yeah, we have a good relationship here, right? Me and the doctor, we go way back, but we do this show together. And if you're liking the content, like I said, if you like it, like it. If you want to subscribe, hit subscribe for the vibe. Otherwise, do something else. I'll tell you something interesting. Last week, or whenever I did the Moby one, someone actually, for the first time, clicked the coffee link and bought me a pint. He bought me a few pints, actually. So that's the first tip I've ever got. We don't make money on this show for copyright. So if you like it, drop a link and say
Hello.
So thank you in advance if you do that. If not, just like the video. Do whatever you want, actually. You can even click out of the video if you want. It's your life. So let's sample in this part of Rare Pleasure, which is the piano riff. It's that little bit there, right? We're going to loop it up just like David did. It's that easy to let you down easy. That's the loop. Shout out to David for that one. And that's the type of bit, right? You would take a piece of that on a wider scale with your two mixers that Larry would do, right? He would pick a long part like that, and then while one side was playing, he could reverse this side and get it going again and swap over. So he might take that part with two records, let it play. Once it gets there, mix it back on the other one, back spin, right? There was the Technics 1200 allowed people to do the back spinning with the motor and all that. Very big in hip hop, the breaks, right? That was literally a guy with two copies of James Brown or whatever doing the same thing. It's called a merry-go-round. But anyway, that's another story for another day. We have the piano loop. And before we do that, right, why don't I just record in one more time? Because there's another way he did it. Actually, did I catch it there? He did a doom 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 doom. Oh, Jesus, what am I doing here? Don't know what I'm doing here. Cancel. Sorry, folks. I want to show you that though, so I'll record it one more time. He did a shorter loop. Remember that? That's what he did. Anyway, we're looping here all day. It's great crack, but let's get into the second sample. That comes from the Shy Lights. And where do you think the Shy Lights are from? Well, they're from Chi-Town, Chicago.
Though day after day I've tried, I keep saying she'll be back, but today
This was their original type of stuff, right?
I see her face everywhere I go, on the street and even at the picture show. Have you seen her? Tell me, have you seen her? Oh, I hear her.
Beautiful, right? That kind of Motown soul is where they started. That was one of their biggest songs, right? They were out of Chicago, a soul group. They had loads of hits like this, right? But it was their song, My First... Oh, listen to this, sorry.
Did she have to leave and go away? Oh,
Beautiful stuff, guys. Go back and listen to some of the Shy Lights, or the Chai Lights, maybe. Shy Lights is what I say. But anyway, before I get into the Needin You vocal sample, there is another song they put out that has a very, very famous sample in the 2000s, right? We'll play that now for you. You're gonna notice. You knew that one. Crazy in Love, right? Beyonce. Let's sample it in ourselves for the crack because it's a fun one. And that is, of course, Rich Harrison, right? Rich Harrison sampled that, or I'm guessing he actually re-recorded it, but he interpreted that. That's not exactly how he looped it, sorry. Something like that. You can tell he didn't loop it actually because of how that didn't loop correctly. But anyway, shout out to Rich Harrison, who also sampled that type of stuff for A Merry One Thing. I did a short on that before. Destiny's Child, Usher, and Beyonce. Beyonce, who's got an incredible back catalogue herself. But anyway, the Shy Lights. And the last sample I'm going to look at was My First Mistake. Now this tune came out 1976. And like I said, soul, disco, they were all mixing in. And the Shy-Lites got stuck in, similar to Rare Pleasure. These are the records that were being made for the dance floor that Larry, Lavan, and all those heads loved. And check this out. Now you're probably thinking, is that a little bit too like mellow or a bit chill for the garage? Because now you know all about the garage, right? New York City, the garage where everybody went to dance. But you ain't gonna dance to that. Okay, it gets a bit funkier, but it funks up in a big way. Check this out. And here comes a sample. That's the bit that Larry loved. Sorry, I was recording there the whole time. That's a bit long. But that's where the Needin' You comes from, right? Let's isolate. No, I realized there was two Needin' Yous. I think it's the first one. But let's have a listen. Probably not that one because there's backup vocals, so let's go back. Let's combine that with our piano. Did you get it? That's what it is. That's Needin' You on top of the piano riff. And there you go. Now, there's one other bit of this song. My First Mistake. It turns into a dance floor boogie bonanza, to say it lightly, right? Which a load of tracks at the time kept playing out to keep people dancing. Big, long, epic dance floor tunes at the time that everyone was doing. Now listen to this. That was also used in Needin' You, right? That was used, so let's sample that in. Right before that, a really nice little bass comes in. So there you go, right? And now, that's the other bit that David used to loop and play and mix and all that. And he took those hits that he might have even heard via Larry or at the time, and he created the song Needin' You. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed, hope you had fun, and hope you learned something. Like I said, please like and subscribe and go out and have fun with yourself. Enjoy life, and we'll see you next time.